अथ भक्ति वर्धिनी।
Bhakti Vardhini, process of progress in devotion. This scripture has been created in Vikram Samvat 1552. 14 commentaries are available on it. Bhakti Vardhini scripture was created by Sri Mahaprabhuji because of Purushottam Joshi. He asked the question, which path is superior amongst the path of fruitier, path of action, karma marga, path of knowledge, jnana marga, and path of devotion, bhakti marga. In the answer, he answered that whichever path is fixed in one's mind, one has faith in whichever path, that is the superior. But on the path of fruitier work and the knowledge, perfection comes with the great difficult, while on the path of devotion, obtaining perfection is easier. Our path, the path of devotion, emotions being the primary element in it, instructed various ways how to increase the devotion of people on the same path, so for that. Therefore, to bring perfection and devotion, this scripture is very useful. In the path of fruitier action requires surrender of attachment, mamta. You have to surrender your mamta. As well as in the path of knowledge requires surrender of false ego, ahanta. While in path of devotion, due to connection of the attachment ego with Supreme Lord, with the knowledge of its importance, the living entity gets perfection. Since abandoning attachments and ego completely is very difficult, but connecting them with the Supreme Lord makes it easy and helpful in increase of devotion. Many scholars and many scriptures, the subject of devotion has been discussed previously, but their devotional worship, which is beyond fruitful devotion, by which devotion one has to connect with Supreme, the absolute truth, Shri KRUSHNA, Parabrahma, and the result of which is beyond a non-destroyable religious place, which is supreme sublime place beyond description available in the world and Vedas. Sri Vallabhacharya is referring about such devotion. The seed of devotion is sowed by Supreme Lord Himself when He selects a living entity. Here you are indicating ways to nurture that seed sowed. Word of Bhakti originates from the root word Bhaj. Root word Bhaj means service, and word Bhakti means created by adding suffix kitan in the root word Bhaj. The tin suffix add meaning loving, so Bhakti means loving service.
यथा भक्ति प्रवृद्धा स्यात् तथोपायो निरूप्यते बीज भावे दृढ़े तु स्यात् त्यागात् श्रवण कीर्तनात्.
Verse number 1. Presenting the solutions for nicely developing the devotion, it is necessary to perform hearing and chanting of glories of Shri Krishna with sacrifices to strengthen that seed of devotional mood. The word seed has been described in various ways. Seed sowed at the time of deviation of soul, that is, living entity got separated from Supreme Lord. At that time, seed has been sowed as a soul, which is partial form of super soul. Some commentators believe that when by mercy of some of the devotee of Lord, as also pursuit of its own form of living entity and Supreme Lord and emotions of Supreme Lord manifests, that moment is called the moment of sowing of seed of devotion. And at that time of initiation of Brahma Sabandha of spiritual master, the seedling of heavenly devotion has occurred. Sri Mahaprabhuji says that divine living entity, Daivi Jeev, who has the seed, who has that seed of devotion in his heart, solutions to nourish that seed and development of devotion through that are being described in this scripture. Here you are not speaking of sowing of seed, but process to promote or develop that seed. Yatha bhakti prabuddha syat. Sowing of seed is done by Supreme Lord Himself. Vedas and Srimad Bhagavad repeatedly mention that seed is obtained only by living entities whom Supreme Lord has accepted. Naya matma pravachena labhya yame vaishnavruttena tena labhya. Vallabhacharya ji identify the divine living entities, that this living entity has been accepted by Supreme Lord and suitable for Supreme Lord, and hence accepted them in His shelter. He is living solutions to promote that seed of mercy and through that increase devotion. The first order as to the solution or to increase the devotion is that it is necessary to do hearing and chanting of glories of Shri Krishna with sacrifices of own path. Shri Mahaprabhuji in his composition Nibandha, that well connecting in devotion after firm conviction in glories of Supreme Lord, that loving devotion can fructify because of knowledge of glories of Supreme Lord. Thesis means praman and hypothesis means prameya. Both should follow the same way. Therefore, here too, the very first order is of hearing and chanting of Lord's glories. Hearing with sacrifices means rejection of ego and attachment, mamta, ego, ahamta and attachment, mamta in this world, rejection of shelter of others, other gods, rejection of Vedic rewards, and if in daily life creates hindrances in service, remembrance, etc. in the path of devotion, then it is necessary to remain engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of Supreme Lord by rejecting every such obstruction, situation like eating, drinking and ethic thoughts, etc. in accordance of path of devotion. When the living entity engage himself in hearing and chanting of glories of Lord pastime, which is mellow and lyrical glorification by experience 8 primary devotees like Ashtashakha of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, then the seed of devotion shall get germinated, thrived, flowered and resulted. Just as after sowing the seed, fertilizer, water, irrigation and sunlight are necessary, and thereafter protection from the storms and typhoon is also essential for that tender tree, similarly, it is required to nourish the seed of devotion by satsang, good environment, irrigate by water of spiritual discourses, heat of separation, and protect from bad companionship until it gives results. Only then love, prem, attachment, asakti and addiction, vyasan, can reach the mood of soul of everyone after getting perfection in Supreme Lord, the details of which will be given to you subsequently.
बीजदार्ढ्य प्रकारस्तु गृहे स्थित्वा स्वधर्मतः अव्यावृत्तो भजेत् कृष्णं पूजया श्रवणादिभिः.
Verse 2. To strengthen the devotion from its roots, it is necessary that one should do service, worship and listening to Supreme Lord Shri Krishna's glories single-mindedly while living the life of a householder and fulfilling the one's duties steadfastly. Sri Vallabhacharya is recommending here to stay in the life of householder to strengthen the mood received through the seed, because if that is devotional mood is not yet firm, in such situation of devotional practice, if one goes to live in a holy place for devotion, then hurdles in fructification of that seed of devotion can rise due to the possibility catching faults like bad companionship, seeing faults in others, etc. in tender stage of seed of devotion. Just as protecting a tender small trees from outside environment by keeping them in a pot is necessary, similarly, in the tender state of devotion, it is necessary to execute devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna while living in household life single-mindedly. Single-mindedly, avyavrutti means rejection of unfavorable tendencies in the time of devotional service, that is rejection of worldly dealings, contacts, etc. And here in original words, prakarastu word has been indicated. Then rejection of customs of other regulated path is mentioned. Rejection of worship, service of various demigod, demigoddess, or various small big festivals, etc., instead of Supreme Lord installed in the home, single-mindedly, that is, avyavrutti, also means non-attachment to various things in the home. Worldly things, family members, while residing in a householder life. So here in the word puja is also used after the word bhajet. In Venugit from 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavat, Krishna Sagar Mrug, a type of deer who are watching the Lord playing the flute, there in Subodhaniji, he is revealing that the best things that any deer has is her eyes, and she is offering the same to the Lord, who also gets pleased by seeing the eyes of deer as they bring remembrance of the eyes of Supreme Mistress Sri Swaminiji. Though the deer is just watching the Supreme Lord and her eyes, but even then Sukadev Goswami has used the word worship, puja, there because that has brought pleasure to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. In the same way, living a life of householder, whatever activities are performed directly in relation with Supreme Lord, residing in the home for his pleasures are called service, seva, and all other activities performed for the pleasure of Supreme Lord are called worship, puja. In this way, living in the householder life and executing service, worship of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, one should listen to transcendental melodies of pastimes of Supreme Lord through the mouth of experienced devotees when there is lack of service worship opportunity. With word adi is also used, which means the process of contemplation on listened pastimes and qualities of Supreme Lord. And speaking on that contemplation, when associating with devotees, this cycle is necessary as cow ruminates. It is nurturing the seed of devotion. Here the mention is about one's self-duty, swadharma, the duties of material, class and spiritual order gets applied in one's own duties. The duties of the one engaged in knowing Brahman, the one with value and great administration and warfare, Kshatriya, trade class, Vaishya, one who excels in Shrushrusha, the quality of serving other varnas, Shudras, and duties of all four spiritual orders, that is Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. But these duties are limited to provide result, and these duties of class and order gets over with the end of body. Therefore, for the Vaishnavas, Sri Vallabhacharya is referring to the duties of self or soul. This reward of duties of devotional service being related to soul is eternally by any means. Thereafter, that devotional service can be executed in any class of life, varna, or any spiritual order, ashram. The living entity with the tender mind should remain in service, worship, listening, etc., while staying in life of householder.
व्यावृत्तोऽपि हरौ चित्तम् श्रवणादौ यतेत् सदा ततः प्रेम तथा सक्तिर्व्यसनं च यदा भवेत् बीजं तदुच्यते शास्त्रे दृढं यन्नापि नश्यति.
Verse 3 and first line of verse 4. Always try to remain engaged in hearing glories of Lord, etc., while executing worldly duties via vritti, by a connecting mind in the Lord Hari, even at the time when mind is engaged in worldly attraction, vyavrutti. This will respectively lead to love, attachment and addiction to Lord Sri Hari. Then that seed of devotion is said to be formed, which seed will never get destroyed. Such description is available in scriptures. The symptoms of single-mindedness described in previous words, which are still not manifested in the living entity because he still has attachment other than Supreme Lord, like attachments for home, etc., or fruitive devotion of demigod or demigoddess. To eliminate that, Sri Vallabhacharya is ordering that if it is necessary to keep mind engaged in worldly activities for executive services in householder life, that is, need to do some business or job, or need to handle public behavior, or have to perform installation and worship of demigoddess by Vedic ritual or worldly matters, then in all such situations and in times of while mind needs to be engaged in worldly activities, Vyavrutti, executing all the activities with keeping focus on Supreme Lord, Sri Hari, and keep connecting mind in hearing pastimes of Lord, etc., with special efforts. All these distractions can obstruct the strengthening of seed of devotion. Shravanadi means mode of listening, contemplation, and then saying all that as glorification. Vallabhacharya is ordering to doing effort in such hearing, etc. Always remaining like that will perfect the love, attachment and addition for Lord Sri Hari. For this process, it is necessary to connect the mind in Lord Hari, who takes away all layers those create obstructions in mind. This symptom of work in progress of strengthening of seed. Here always Sada is used, therefore by continuing this process, attaining situations of addition, that seed will be termed as form, and that seed of devotion would never get destroyed. This is opinion of scriptures after reaching to a situation of addition if mind is not going anywhere other than Supreme Lord. Thereafter, such situation and any illusion, bad companionship, etc. cannot be deflected. Doing, hearing, listening, etc. is the functional feature, Karya Lakshan, of strengthening of that seed, and it is being said about the attribute of form, Swarup Lakshan, of firmness of that seed, then that living entity will get feeling of self-starter, that is, that living entity will connect in services, remembrance of Lord with his own desire. This is indication of love of Supreme Lord, Prem. Thereafter, as a sign of attachment, Asakti, in this form of Lord, he says that such living entity, not just connected in daily service, but along with daily service, they will manifest the enthusiasm to please the Supreme Lord through various desires, festivals of own deities, and various kinds of melodies, offerings, decoration, and gradually reach the situation of addiction. The symptoms of the addictions are indicating that living entity now can't survive even for a moment without the Supreme Lord. Vyasan, that is addiction. The firm seed can't be destroyed now by any typhoon or falls or any contrary situation.
Snehadraga vinasha syad asaktya syad gruha ruchihi gruhasthanam badhakatvam anatmatvam cha bhasate yada syad vyasanam krushne krutartha syat tadaiva hi.
Second line of verse 4 and verse 5. Love of Supreme Lord will destroy the affection from other places. When attached to Supreme Lord, the unpleasantness occur in the home. Grahastha ashram, family members living with them in the home become disruptive in devotion, and due to that feeling indifferent from them, not appear to be related to soul. When one gets addicted to Sri Krishna, then that devotee is fully contented. One's seed of devotion becomes staunch, explaining the reasons of love, prem, attachment, asakti, addiction, vyasan. Due to love with Supreme Lord, that living entity can't remain at home anymore with the family members, relatives, etc. Because he remains drenched in feelings and services of pastime, then family members, relatives all appear to be obstruction, and fulfilling worldly formalities with them is an obstruction in such situation. Whichever family member is not a devotee, then that does not appear to be a relative of oneself, anatmatvam, but being just relative bodily, indifference is felt for them. Gradually having been addicted with Sri Krishna, then that living entity remains fully involved, having obtained this best reward of Supreme Lord's pastimes. That reward is even better than any Vedic reward. Tadrasyasyasvi satatam grahasthanam vinashakam. Second line of verse 5th and
तादृशस्यापि सततं गृहस्थानं विनाशकं त्यागं कृत्वा यतेद्यस्तु तदर्थार्थैकमानसः लभते सुदृढां भक्तिं सर्वतोप्यधिकां पराम्.
Verse 6 and first line of verse 7.
After having acquired this type of devotion in Sri Krishna, continuous stay at home is an impediment to further progress of devotion. Therefore, such a devotee should renounce home for a one objective only, and that is for Supreme Lord only, so that he can obtain strong, superior devotion more than any path. For such devotees, continuous stay at home, living with family members in worldly relationship or environment could be devastating for such a high profile of their devotion. To live constantly in the blissful mellows of pastime and their contemplation, living home is beneficial, but that renunciation should be only for single staunch objective, one-mindedness as only for one purpose of remaining connected with Supreme Lord. Then that living entity obtains highest reward, a reward bigger than rewards obtained by the devotion from the other demigod or goddesses. The living entity connected with Supreme Absolute Truth obtains supreme devotion, and that too so strong that it can never be ruined. That devotee always remains drenched in mellow of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, who is above the world Vedas, form of complete bliss, Purna Purushottam, on this world and after deportation also admitted into the service of Supreme Absolute Truth. Shri Krishna with divine body, reward of such unearthly devotion is even special than salvation. Therefore, it is being said here that obtaining such devotion is more than everything else. Sarvatopyadhyakikam param.
त्यागे बाधक भूयस्त्वं दुस्संसर्गात् तथान्यतः अतः स्थेयं हरिस्थाने तदीयैः सह तत्परैः अदूरे विप्रकर्षे वा यथा चित्तं न दुष्यति.
Second line of verse 7 and verse 8. In this life of renunciation, if seed of devotion is not formed, bad company and unholy food are two main places of fear. Sometimes, due to force of emotion, in immature situation, handing over their deities of Supreme Lord with other devotees moves to holy places of devotion like VRAJ, Nathodavara, etc. and live there. If the seed of devotion is yet weak enough, situation of addiction is not yet achieved, but leave home randomly, then Sri Mahaprabhuji warns them with two dangerous situations which can destroy the seed of devotion. After leaving home, if matter like money or food grains etc. belonging to others being accepted, then that can create obstacle. The money earned by wicked means could be fatal for devotion. Consuming food grains without being offered or with contaminated mood, many kinds of guilt can appear in body and mind because such grains affect both body and mind. According to proverb, your thoughts are dependent on the type of food consumed. Yatha anna tatha manna. The mind can be conflicting. Physical adoration and spiritual sentiments will leave a huge impact on the body and mind. After leaving home, there could be a need of help or for material matter, other things, etc., for fulfilling the service to Lord. Spiritual discourse may also be required to fulfill all such services. In such situation, it is likely to be victim of disruptive association. Shri Hariraj Mahaprabhuji in his work called Dusang Vigyan Prakar, the science behind appropriate-inappropriate company, alerts the Vaishnava devotees in many ways about such troublesome association. Vanchak obstructors, the language, costumes of Vaishnava, ephora due to force of emotion, speaking words of Sri Vallabh, but even then, hypocritical and selfish people who many times occupy such holy places, pretending in the name of glorification of Supreme Lord, together takes disadvantage of such immature Vaishnava. Sometimes such devotee has to suffer with some different results instead of devotion. Therefore, he is alerting about such barriers occurring from such bad connection which can happen even after leaving the home. Atah stheyam hari sthane. Hence, one should reside near a holy place of Lord along with other devotees, indulging meditating devotion. Whether you stay near or far, make sure your mind should not get infected with unholy thoughts without looking their faults or weak points. After attaining mature state, one can go live in holy places after having lived away from home. Sri Mahaprabhuji has described those holy places in Nibandh, Tatvarsadip Nibandh, Pandharpur, Srirangam, Jagannath Puri, Tirupati, Dwarka, etc. places of pilgrimage where service worship of Supreme Lord according to the process described in Vedic ritual, where mind remains connected with Supreme Lord by their environment, by the auspicious sounds of conch shell, bell ringing and chanting, whereas devotional Vaishnavas can go and live in places like Vrindavan, VRAJ, Sri Nathdwara, places like cottages of Sri Mahaprabhuji, Baitakji, with devotees who are absorbed in devotional service can live. Then connecting with them, always be ready for services to them and Supreme Lord. Such devotees should go to highly spiritual devotees at an appropriate time of rendering service and remembrance. During spiritual discourse, extreme proximity may develop fault-finding attitude towards them, or they see faults in us, create a possibility to harm feelings of devotion. As also do not keep away from them to get the benefits, and do not stay too near or close also. This way should keep perfect distance with them.
सेवायां वा कथायां वा यस्या शक्तिर्दृढा भवेत् यावज्जीवं तस्य नाशो न क्वापीति मतिर्मम.
Verse 9. In service of Supreme Lord or in glorification of pastimes of Supreme Lord, whichever have firm attachment which remains lifelong, then such seed of devotion can never be destroyed. According to my opinion, says Sri Vallabhacharya-ji, one should lead the life of householder or live in the glorification of Lord, being ready for the service of Lord, whichever way attachment to Supreme Lord gets fortified. In order that this love continues lifelong, keep up the following order: emotional lyrical service or glorification as explained above, discourses on the pastimes of Lord, remain connected for lifelong with Supreme Lord, or pastimes of Supreme Lord through either both of them or any one depending on the situation. The seed of devotion in that living entity will never get destroyed. That seed will fructify because living entities continuously living in that state of mind lifelong can't ever be infected by bad association or because of any guilt of that period. His journey of devotion can reach to a rewarding stage of love, addiction and attachment. The same never gets destroyed. Sri Mahaprabhuji sincerely says that such living entity will surely perfect the reward of Pushti Marg.
बाध संभावनायां तु नैकान्ते वास इष्यते हरिस्तु सर्वतो रक्षां करिष्यति न संशयः.
Verse 10. One should not seek solitude due to fear if they feel insecure, because that can create obstructions in devotion. Supreme Lord Sri Hari definitely saves his devotees in all circumstances, undoubtedly. If the family members, etc., create obstruction in devotion while living in householder life, and then they leave the home for solitude, then there too can be possibility of similar obstructions in devotional mood. One is an internal fear, that is desire, anger, greed like defects hidden in mind subtly, especially attacks mind in the solitude. So fear of that, and second is the external fear, that is, there remains a special fear of thieves and violent animals in the solitude. In such time, if mind is disturbed because of fear and mind is obstructed from remembrance of Lord or his pastime due to those fear, then such solitude is not desirable. Such is Vallabhacharyaji's order. At the same time, assures that Lord Hari will protect us in all such places of fear, because Lord Hari is capable of removing all these instances of fear, hurdles, etc. Keep such faith. If living in solitude after renunciation of home is done with only sole objective of obtaining the devotion of Supreme Lord, and thereto live completely depending on Supreme Lord and not anyone else, then Lord Hari will definitely protect us without any doubt whatsoever. The Gopijan has also confirmed that the Lord has always protected us from all the situations of fear. Vishjalapya Vishnovato Bhyat Rishabte Vyayam Rakshita Mohu.
इत्येवं भगवत् शास्त्रं गूढतत्त्वं निरूपितं य एतत् समधीयीत तस्यापि स्यात् दृढा रतिः.
Verse 11. In this form, express the secretive element of devotional scriptures, that is, scriptures related to Supreme Lord. Whoever study them honestly, that is, deliberates them from inside, will obtain firm loving devotion of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Vedas, Bhagavad, Puran, etc. all scriptures are describing Supreme Lord absolute element of Krishna only in secretive way. Vedas describe about various demigods are physical organs of Supreme Lord, and all power, controllers and are components of Shri Krishna only. Therefore, in these scriptures, ways to obtain Shri Krishna by augmentation of devotion has been explained. That is the summary of all scriptures related to Supreme Lord. The realization of this secretive element is not subject of verbal explanation but of experience. Here you order in this scripture. The fruit of listening is that any living entity who will adopt this in his life after studying it thoroughly, they will have strong love with emotional gratitude in Sri Krishna. Thus, this is the best of all the reward of devotion. Thus ends the Bhakti Vardhini prepared by Sri Vallabhacharya.